Join Lee Bellinger today on the Bellinger Report. Lee is the publisher of Off Grid Confidential, one of the last information financial newsletters to be delivered 100% through the mail and completely independent of the internet and big tech scolds. Lee has been publishing continuously since 1988 and is your guide to off-grid living.
I hate to sound like I'm a defender of Biden, but I would just say that Biden had a losing hand he had to play, and he played it poorly. Sometimes you have a losing hand and you can play it well. He had a losing hand and he played it very poorly because his primary mistake, of course, was he evacuated our military before he evacuated our friends or the equipment. And so now we've got 250,000 of those night vision devices in the hands of terrorists all over the globe. They're going to be able to use it to knock down airplanes. They've got all kinds of weapons they could smuggle in here to the United States and knock down 10, 12, 13 airliners in one day. There was a Al-Qaeda plan to do just that out of the Philippines, but they went with 9/11. And so you've got scenario now where, these types of anonymous attacks are very possible.
See, I still don't believe it was a mistake. I don't think they're that stupid. I think Biden in that interview told us he priced everything in. They knew what was happening.
He did.
And also, what was interesting, I listened to two congressmen. They were both women. The Friday before our soldiers were killed, Nancy Pelosi had one of those conference calls where they had all the congressmen could, it's not Zoom in, but call in. And they had General Milley, Blinken, Austin, all appraising Congress, Nancy Pelosi, their progress and what they had done. During the conversation, because the one congresswoman, in fact, said, it took me 10 minutes to move out of my seat after the way the conversation, they explained everything. Basically, Pelosi told that staff, it's like the Four Stooges, it's like the Three Stooges plus Shemp when you throw them all in there. But basically said, you guys have done a great job, and actually ended the conversation with, well, everything's going okay. There's really nothing else to talk about. And I really believe, and like I said, this congresswoman who said, it took me 10 minutes to move out of my chair after I heard that with all that had already happened. And that was before the 13 soldiers were killed. I really think this ain't a surprise. This is what the Democrats did. They want to take our guns, but then they're going to sit there and arm terrorists. Also, the Biden administration recently, for those of us that own guns, they put a ban on Russian ammunition coming into this country. 40% of the ammunition in our country that comes in for us to buy, that we the people, is now banned.
I didn't know that.
They just took that from us. But guess what? They gave $90 billion with a B dollars worth of all the equipment that you're talking about. I mean, like you said, we gave the terrorists the one thing that America has over every other country. They say, we own the night. We have the best night vision of anybody. We just gave that to them, along with tanks, along with planes.
Now, just remember, too, that the big thing that happened with that was the surprise for everybody was nobody expected the Afghan army to collapse inside of a week. I didn't.
But you know what I heard? And I believe this was General King. He's retired. I don't know if you've seen him at all. But I want to say it was him. I'm going to give him credit. Maybe it wasn't him. But he said the whole thing was a basically major debacle. He said, because what you do in the military when you have things like this, you look at every scenario. And then what you do is you pick the worst scenario, and that's how you deal with it. You don't, and one of the scenarios should have been everything falls apart, which you don't do what they did and shut down the air base and remove the military and leave the civilians there.
Exactly.
That's like the best case scenario. And these people aren't that stupid. So you have to literally say, what are they? Traitors? Should they all be tried for treason? That's what I really believe. I think Biden should all be tried for treason.
No, they're just stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're that stupid. They've got way too much. I know.
Well, look. There's an interesting study on what stupidity actually is, and it's never by dumb people. Dumb people are different than stupid people. Stupidity is a mental. It's basically stupidity is when a person has a mental template in their head of a situation that bears no resemblance to reality. That's stupidity. It's kind of like the generals that fight the last war, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's the classic. So we were running around with we're running around with battleships when the Japanese were building planes that could attack Pearl Harbor in 40 feet of water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the stupidity is when you do what might have worked in the past and you're absolutely impervious to listening to even the most. That's what stupidity is. And that's why you can have very smart people who are stupid. Stupidity is a psychological affliction. It is not meaning, it doesn't mean that you lack brain power. It means that you can't, it afflicts. That's why you can have people who are smarter than you who are left-wing, lunatics, because they subscribe to a narrative that's false. It's just, and they're impervious to evidence. And so if they're watching all their news from MSNBC, they're going to get a worldview that really has no bearing on reality. And that's where Biden is. He lives in, it's kind of like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was doing all these hideous things in his lifetime, but nobody had ever told him that sleeping with underage boys was a bad idea. It didn't look good. Nobody ever told him that. He just kept doing it. And he was like, that's what a stupid person does. Stupidity is, usually an affliction of the smart. You can be smart and really stupid. And these people are stupid. They're stupid. See, Trump is street smart.
Kind of like what Forrest Gump, stupid is as stupid does.
Stupid really is as stupid does. That's one of the more profound statements. I've used that a couple times in my headlines. Stupid really is as stupid does, because that's what it is. It's like, and Forrest Gump may not have been a bright person. The character may not have been bright, but he knew his situation he was in, where you can have very smart people. And so it's all groupthink. Groupthink will get you in deep shit every time. Every time.
Well, you remember Rush used to say it all the time. Liberalism's a mental disease.
It is a mental disease.
It's stupid people with a mental disease.
Because you got to ask yourself, can they really be this stupid? And the answer is, of course, yes. Because I too was surprised that the Afghan army lost. So that's why we lost all that equipment, because we gave it to the Afghan military. Now, it turns out that the way we left the country demoralized them. We didn't. And also I believe that the terrorists knew that if they made Trump look bad on television, it would be bad for them. Trump's ego, maybe his motives weren't always the right thing, but anybody that was a terrorist knew that if they managed to humiliate us on national TV, Trump would do whatever it took to undo that. But like a good example, the parallel example was when Ronald Reagan was president, he had this crazy ass thing he was doing where we put a peacekeeping force into Lebanon. Lebanon was falling apart. And we did this, and he made a deal with the Democrats in the Congress where we didn't defend the perimeter with live ammo that you had. And this was before bomb attacks happened. And so the perimeters and an agreement with Congress to be there that he made with the Democrats, they didn't have any ammo if a truck broke through the barriers. And it killed 168 Marines, sleeping Marines. And Reagan, not only did Reagan take full responsibility for it, but within 3 or 4 days, he invaded and liberated Grenada. Because when Reagan lost, he lost that. And he said, screw it, I've lost this. I'm going to take something else off the table from the other side. And that's why nobody remembers the Lebanon disaster, because he liberated Grenada. And I'm saying, Trump would have done something like that. If you're smart commander in chief and you want to maintain your military credibility, if you can't win this, you take something else. They're not smart enough to do that. They're dumb. They're stupid. And I have no doubt in my mind that if they embarrassed Trump on national TV with all that crap, I don't think the Taliban would have done that.
Well, Trump also told them, back in February of last year or whatever, when he told them about that he was going to wind everything down, he basically talked to the head of there's not a de facto person that's actually the lead person, but the person who they consider, and I'm sorry at this point, I can't remember his name, but he told him, he said, look, he says, if you don't follow any of this, any harm comes to any Americans, anything doesn't go the way it is, especially, we lose soldiers, injuries, you destroy any of our equipment. He told him, he said, I just want you to know, we will kill you, your kids, kids, and we will destroy everything that you have. He says, I won't drop a nuclear bomb on you. And he actually said this on Hannity. He repeated what he said. He said, but I will drop a Moab bomb on you, which is the strongest bomb in the world next to a nuclear weapon. And he said, basically, I'll obliterate you. You'll be gone. And that's the old Reagan, peace through strength.
Peace through strength.
And, that's not what Biden's doing. Now we're going to give them who knows, billions of dollars or whatever we're going to give them. It's just utterly ridiculous.
And it's going to blow up in his face. I do think that you're going to continue to see ramifications continue with Biden. So it's too early to know. Maybe the Biden people will rally. Maybe it's possible, but I don't think so. I know they're pushing ahead with their agenda to pass stuff. We'll see if it actually happens, but it's progress, and I think a lot of good things are happening on a lot of fronts where there's a lot more, where people are more awake than they were.
Well, I know people, you talk about a lot of good things happening. I kind of told you one of the things I've kind of gotten involved in over the last week is a convention of states. Several of the people I listen to, have basically said, we've got to start doing more than don't just sit back and play the Republican game of, we're going to win the House in 2022 and expect them to do anything, because they won't. They don't do anything. They do the same thing they always do. They're just the other side of a coin. You got the Democrats on one side, Republicans on the other. Each of them come at about 45% of the country with a different method, but they're all together. It's a uniparty. They're not any different. But a couple of the people that I've listened to that actually, Patriot Nurse, one of them, talking about how we need to start taking things in our own hand. And I've heard about the Convention of States before, but I really, never have really looked into it. I understood about it, but she was saying, look, we're either going to end up having a civil war, or we have two other legal things that are under the Constitution. One of them is secession. And I've told you, I'm a secessionist. And I tell people, I don't want to secede. I believe the left has already seceded. They're the people that don't want the rule of law. They're the people that don't want to use the Constitution or follow it. They don't care about the Bill of Rights, and they hate America and our way of life. So they've already seceded. I think we just need to let them leave. And that's what we need to do. So we don't need to secede.
You'd need Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and Texas.
Yeah, probably. That's all you need.
Georgia would be pretty iffy.
Yeah. So you got that part, but I
don't want to lose Montana either. I don't want to lose Montana, and I don't want to lose. Well, Utah, I'm willing to negotiate over, but I mean, Montana we don't want to lose South Dakota.
Okay. This Convention of States, I recommend people to look into it. You can go to conventionofstates.com, and let me explain what it is. There's two legal things. Like I said, one is secession, because that's allowed under the Constitution, but the other is Convention of States. What the Convention of States is, the best part about it, it leaves all the idiots out. Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Lindsey Graham, Chuck Schumer. The federal government has nothing to do with it. The Convention of States is under Article 5 in the Constitution. And what it is basically where the states can come in and basically hold a Congress to change anything they want within the Constitution. I mean, so the way it works is you have to have 34 states out of the 50 that want to go ahead and hold a convention.
A constitutional convention.
Right, a constitutional convention. And so right now, there's 15 states that have already approved to be in this convention. There's 9 other states, South Carolina being one of them, where it is passed in our House, but not our Senate. And there's 16 more states that are looking to vote on this over the next year. So you're looking at 40 of 50 states that are wanting to do this convention, possibly. But we, the people, have to get involved and let our congressmen know. So if you go to the conventionofstates.com, you can sign a petition that says, hey, this is what I want to do. I believe in this. So I did that. I got contacted by our senator in South Carolina, not Lindsey Graham. That's federal level. This is done by your local level senators and congressmen. If they pass in your state Senate and your state, Congress that they want to do this, that's how you become registered. If that happens and we get 34 states, this is what happens then. Each state sends one representative. They can send as many delegates as they want, but each state has one representative that represents them. They could literally change anything they want They could eliminate the presidency and make a king if they chose. They could eliminate the Supreme Court. But what's happened is, of the 15 states that are already in it, that have already agreed to go to this convention, they have 500 different wish lists of things that they want to change. But, however, what's happened is there's a coalition now of there's three things that basically that they want to happen in the convention of states. One is term limits. And that's even like for Supreme Court justices, and also congressmen. If we're going to sit around and wait for those guys to vote themselves that they're going to have term limits, the people that broke the process are not going to fix the process. So if the states, we can get 34 to go ahead and come to the convention, and then 38 of the states ratify term limits, there's nothing nobody else can do about it. It's done. The other big issue is a balanced budget. And then the third issue that the states have agreed upon is deficit spending, and it's really how money is spent within the budget. So that's what the Convention of States is looking at, those three things. Don't fall for the lie. What they've been trying to dissuade people is tell you, oh, if you open up this convention, we could end up with the king. No, you can't, because 38 states have to ratify it. That's not going to happen. But, I'm getting involved. I went ahead, did the petition. I've actually signed up to be a volunteer. They need volunteers. I'm looking at being a district captain where you teach people, talk to people. It's a form of activism that you can get involved. It's actually the largest we the people activism, or I guess
is this
group in the United States.
Can you arrange to get me an interview with its founder?
I can make some calls. I mean, I definitely can get, I was shocked when I signed my petition. Our senator in South Carolina, Thomas, I'm really without knowing but he actually texted me from his phone 3 times. I mean, telling me how he's glad I was on board. How
let's do this.
But we ought to be able to at least get.
I need to get off my butt and do a story about this. So throw me a link to this again.
Okay.
And I'm going to do a story on it, and I'm going to try to get people to sign up for it.
I think it'd be great. I think it's a good interim step. I think the one way that we can stop the federal government from doing the things they do is through a budget. If we can't get states to agree, then to me, I'm on the side of Laura Ingraham said this about 10 days ago. She really said we're approaching the part where we just don't pay taxes. We get several states that say we're not sending taxes, and employers quit taking it. We'll shut the federal government down overnight. I mean, you can't do it by yourself. You can't do it with 3 guys in a party, in some kind of like little club. But if we do it on state, like you were talking about, you get Texas, Florida, South Carolina, these different states to say, that's it, we're done. We're not sending you tax money anymore. And then we, the people, don't send it either. And we, the employers, don't collect it. Federal government's done. The only way we're going to control the federal government is to starve the money they have so they can quit doing all the things they do. So I think this is an interim step. Who knows if it will happen? There's a lot of excitement around it. The other part is how long will it take? There's actually, of the 15 states that are already in it, they started signing up in 2018. So it's taken 3 years to get 15 states.
That's actually huge progress.
Okay.
3 years, 15 states. Yeah. I used to push missile defense for Reagan at the Reagan White House. I used to push missile defense pro-STI resolutions of state legislatures. And if you can get 15 states in 3 years, that ain't bad.
Okay.
For something this big.
Well, I'll get you information on that, but I really recommend, you, the people out there, you can just go online, conventionofthestates.com, sign your petition for your state, get involved. At a minimum, sign the petition so we can get this across the nation, and we can eliminate the power of Biden, eliminate the power of Schumer, eliminate the power of Pelosi, and the states take back power that we have in the states. Actually, there's another thing. One of the other things if you go online too, it teaches you everything you need to know. But one of the things people say, oh, well, what happens when we get that? Because each state sends one representative, and you get this rogue representative who just does what he wants. Kind of like what people talk about in the Electoral College when we have the presidential election and for the federal seats. The electors don't have to follow what the state says at all. They get to do whatever they want to do. A lot of people don't realize that. But That's not the way this is. If you go to represent your state and you somehow do not vote that way, there's huge fines and 3 to 5 years in prison. So ain't too many people going to do that. So they actually thought about that process too. So, but I'll let you know more. I've already talked to some people supposed to get involved, and I'm excited to get to meet the congressman. And, to me, it's a way to step into the world of activism and see what's going on.
Very good, Eric. Well, I'm going to take you up on that. And very good. Give the name of give the email address on that again, please. I mean, the website address.
Conventionofstates.com.
Conventionofstates.com.
Make sure, COS. I mean, sign the petition, man. Let's get the states involved, and let's take back the power. That's where the Constitution put it, was with the states, not with the federal government. So it'd be a first step.
Good step.
I guess we're gonna have to call it a day here, unless you got anything else.
Nope. I think we've done a great job of covering the important issues of the day. Just send me this recording. Okay. And I appreciate your time on this, Eric, and we will continue this conversation.
Well, everybody else, keep praying, be strong, and get involved.
Amen.